Thank you for joining us. In our continuing series on breakthroughs in health, our program today will include updates on age reversal by leaders in this essential field of research. While searching for the fountain of youth, science fiction is actually becoming science fact, and I recently had the privilege of interviewing Liz Parrish, Bill Faloon and Hong Jiang. From stem cells, gene editing and CRISPR-Cas9, with so many exciting developments taking place. We'll also hear briefly from Dr. Nir Barzilai right after these messages.
When I was young, it seemed that life was so wonderful, a miracle. Oh, it was beautiful, magical.
And then they showed me a world where I could be so dependable. Oh, intellectual, cynical.
Find magic again. Sprout by HP. With Intel RealSense technology inside, now you can bend the rules of creativity outside.
Life Extension magazine brings you new discoveries in health and anti-aging. Our science-based research and supplements are so advanced they're many years ahead of the medical mainstream, with quality control standards that exceed FDA mandates. Life Extension has covered groundbreaking medical research for more than 35 years. For your health and future, you deserve the best. Learn more at lifeextension.com.
I have the privilege to say that I'm in the presence of brilliance. I have Liz Parrish here and Bill Faloon. What a pleasure to have you here, Bill, and of course, Liz.
Wonderful to be here, thanks.
So we are ending this event, this VRADFest event 2019. Very interesting. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, this has been an unprecedented scientific conference. We've gathered together some of the leading researchers from around the world to disseminate their findings over the last 12 months. Possibly the most exciting, Dr. Greg Fahey made an announcement. It's already made it into headline news. He was able to reverse biological aging by 2.5 years using a 3-drug combination. This is unprecedented. He regenerated the thymus gland to help restore immune competence, and he was able to demonstrate through a DNA methylation test. A lot of people don't know what that is. It measures how old you are biologically. He moved it back 2.5 years. It's been spectacular.
How significant is that really in world news?
Well, here's how significant it is as it relates to what Liz is doing. A lot of our viewers here, they're not going to live a lot longer. If we can reverse that clock 2.5 years, they may be alive to take advantage of what Liz is working on that could enable them to live indefinitely.
During this conference, BioViva, we got to introduce a lot of the new things that we've been doing over the last year, which is research and development at Rutgers University, creating a new vector delivery method for gene therapy that will essentially deliver multiple genes at one time. We've launched to patient access, and so we have a company that we're working with called Integrative Health Systems that allows patients to access gene therapy technologies that are regenerative gene therapy technologies today. And then the last thing we're doing is multi-omics through BioViva to actually analyze that data and get people interested in sharing their data from all over the world to help cure aging. And we're really excited about that because the project that Bill is launching with all of this data that you're taking on patients and getting them into early interventions will help us a lot in the future.
Yeah, what Liz is referring to is a study we launched right here at RADFest called the Vitality in Aging longitudinal study, very similar to the famous Framingham heart study, where starting in 1948, they started to identify risk factors for cardiovascular disease, such as hypertension, abnormal blood lipids. They were able to identify why people were having heart attacks and how you can prevent them. We at this study are going to identify risk factors that cause people to prematurely age so they can attack those risk factors using off-label prescription drugs. I'm talking about metformin, rapamycin, dasatinib, a number of medications that are available by prescription. Some of them cost very little money. We know they delay aging. We think they can help reverse biological aging to keep the viewers of this program alive long enough to avail themselves to what Liz is working on.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that. So all of this research goes hand in hand. The collecting of the data on patients is integral. People taking the early steps in intervention in treating their biological aging with Bill, absolutely invaluable. All of the information that he's offering and all of the research that he's done for decades now on what is available at the lower level and enterprise level for the average person, and then for people who want to take it farther, who are in dire need, maybe are having an end-stage disease that they can't treat, then we would have them come through the BioViva system for gene therapy.
Absolutely fascinating.
When I think about the number of people in Palm Beach County who have taken care of themselves, but they're in their 80s and 90s, and the conventional medicine is starting to lose an ability to deal with their declining health, they now have an opportunity to essentially recharge, at least get a couple extra years of healthier living so that they can be alive to take advantage of breakthroughs that are right around the corner. And so many times we'll take a person who's got congestive heart failure and we're able to intervene in a way that their cardiologist literally calls us and says, "What'd you do to my patient?" And we say, "Well, what do you mean, what'd you do to your patient?" They said, "Well, he had a low ejection fraction, like say 17%. He was supposed to die and you keep him alive." And that technology exists right now. We can't cure it yet, but we can keep them alive longer. And it's using non-toxic therapies to enable their heart strength to maintain itself long enough to sustain their life.
And then what we're doing on our side is we're using 4 regenerative gene therapies right now. These are our big candidates for targeting the hallmarks of aging, what's actually happening at the cellular level. So when patients really hit a wall and they need an extra option, we're using a telomerase-inducing gene therapy that will lengthen the ends of the chromosomes, and that creates more healthy cell divisions and healthier mitochondria. We have a myostatin inhibitor for patients who are experiencing frailty. And let's say the over-the-counter type therapeutics are not working anymore. They're having muscle atrophy. They're at risk for a fall. We can increase muscle mass through gene therapy, a one-time treatment for the rest of their life. We also are looking at Clotho, which will protect against cardiovascular disease and chronic kidney disease. And our final candidate that will come out next year is PGC1 alpha, that is a great combat against obesity and mitochondrial dysfunction. So, these are more expensive technologies, but they're options that are available for people now by consent. And I think that between Bill and I, that is the full complement from bench to bedside for every type of level of entry that people need.
What Liz just described should motivate anybody who wants to live a lot longer, see their grandchildren and great-grandchildren accomplish impressive events. The technology exists right now to intervene. And when conventional medicine reaches its upper limit at this stage, there are adjuvant therapies, additional interventions that could buy precious time.
You began these projects 30-somewhat years ago, and things have changed so dramatically in the course of this time, from skepticism to recognition. Share that with our audience.
Well, it's now headline news. I started the Life Extension Group in 1977, and barely anybody paid attention to us, except I would go on talk radio shows when that was popular back then. And a lot of people would call in asking, well, what do you do to slow aging and that sort of thing? I said, well, we haven't really figured it out yet. From 1977 to 1982, we knew calorie restriction was good. We knew healthy eating was good, but we couldn't definitively state we are keeping people alive longer. Well, now we've identified multiple modalities that people can utilize right now. Most of them cost very little money. All you need is a prescription from your doctor to get access to medications that have side benefits as opposed to side effects. And those side benefits include reduction of cancer risk and improvements in long-term survival.
And on the gene therapy side, I mean, what's happened is the expeditious route to therapeutic evidence has been substantial. Just 2 decades ago, gene therapy was considered the holy grail if we could ever get there. Now there's 5 regulatory passed gene therapies that are a one-time treatment for a lifetime cure. So that's showing us that we can get there. And then in research, we have already extended the lifespan of animals under several different gene upregulations. And with CRISPR, we'll be able to even take out detrimental genes in the near future, along with upregulating beneficial genes. So it's pretty substantial.
Speaking of CRISPR, any news from Dr. Church at Harvard?
Well, we're interacting with Dr. George Church at Harvard on a regular basis. He is a pioneer of CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing technology with the goal of finding a cure for biological aging by the year 2030. And there's a lot of people who are confident that potentially even before 2030, there may be a way to manage aging so it is not an inevitable and dreadful killer. That's how close we are. Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to die between 2019 and 2030. Our objective at Life Extension is to do everything possible, recommend every modality that could potentially thwart a degenerative process so that they can make it to year 2030 when aging may no longer be an issue.
And Dr. George Church is an advisor of BioViva. He's been an advisor for us since the inception of the company in 2015. He has 45 candidates for longevity. He's working with us at Rutgers University because we're developing a multi-gene delivery system. So right now when you get a gene therapy, you get one gene at a time. We know that the treatment for biological aging and complex disorders like some childhood diseases is going to be multiple gene intervention. So we're going to work with him to do 2 gene therapies. One, so when you put genes into a cell, they make proteins and that changes you. Some of those proteins are not shared outside a cell, so we need to target as many cells in the body as possible. Some of them are systemically shared. So what that means is we need 2 gene therapies, one where we're trying to target most of the cells in the body and one where we're trying to target less cells in the body. So that will be, the 2 therapies that we come out with, hopefully within the next, 7 or 8 years.
It's amazing. It sounds like science fiction that is now becoming science fact.
It is, and you look at George Church, Harvard University, and then you look at the Salk Institute. Jonas Salk founded that group. They've investigated cancer, but what they're focusing on now is aging. And they use CRISPR-Cas9 to take a group of progeroid mice. These are mice who are genetically programmed to have accelerated aging. They were on the verge of death. They utilized CRISPR-Cas9 to reverse many of the pathologies, enable these progeroid mice to live 25% longer. Major announcement that was made in the media, but there's so many news headlines, you get lost a little bit in it. So we try to bring people up to date from the standpoint that this has occurred in 2019, a CRISPR-Cas9 study in animals, and it rejuvenated them. It's not that much longer before that's going to happen to older people.
Before we conclude, in simple terms, share with our audience your final impressions at this particular time.
Oh. Well, I think that, the beauty of this technology is it moves very quickly. The rate of understanding lies well below where the technology is sitting. But I think that the general public will come up to speed with it very quickly when there's human evidence that they can benefit from it. And the interventions being so simple, for instance, outside of doing direct organ-guided treatments of gene therapy, most gene therapies now, due to the vector delivery methods, are given intravenously. So if you could sit for a couple hours and extend your lifespan close to what we're seeing in animal models today, I think that the acceptance rate of that technology will be upticked very quickly.
Well, what a lot of people still don't realize is that they can intervene into biological aging right now with existing therapies. We've been advocating the prescription drug metformin. It's an anti-diabetic medication. It also has profound anti-cancer properties. We've been identifying these types of therapies for, well, I guess 42 years now, and it's finally getting to a point where I'll ask a crowd, is anyone taking metformin who does not have type 2 diabetes? And a few hands goes up because they understand this is a way to delay aging and potentially help reverse it. And then we add into that senolytic therapy, therapy to reduce the senescent cell burden that people over 50 harbor in a major way. We restore NAD+. We look to clean house inside the cells through a process known as autophagy using an existing drug called rapamycin. In other words, we have an armamentarium of weapons against aging. So if someone feels my doctor can't do anything more for me, guess what? There's probably 4 to 8 different ways that you can buy a lot more time.
This is really groundbreaking news, this entire event here in Las Vegas, RadFest 2019. Really fascinating. Liz, thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.
Hope to meet you again one of these days. And Bill, as always.
I hope to do your therapy someday.
I need all the therapy I can get. I'll be right back.
This 100-year-old gentleman goes into life insurance and he wants life insurance. And the clerk looks at him and says, we're not giving life insurance to 100 years old. And he said, no, that's not true because my mother is insured here. He said, your mother is insured? How old is your mother? He said, she's 120 and she's fine. So the clerk thinks better, they go and they discuss and they think it's a marketing opportunity and they come to the old gentleman and say, you know what, we'll give you life insurance. In fact, if you come on Tuesday, we'll have all the papers ready. And the gentleman says, I'm sorry, I'm busy on Tuesday. And they say, old gentleman, what are you doing on Tuesday? He said, it happens that on Tuesday, my grandfather is getting married. How old is your grandfather? He said, 150. 150 and wants to get married? He said, he doesn't want to, but his parents puts lots of pressure on him. When I started telling this story, which is about 20 years ago, I ended at the grandfather getting married. And now I'm so optimistic that I had to put the parents into this story. The TAME study is agnostic to what disease you have and what disease you're going to get. Every disease gets a point because our hypothesis is that we're intervention with aging. We don't know what's your next disease. It's a cluster of diseases. What we're trying to do is, while there's accelerating after the age of 60, there's acceleration in the number of diseases you accumulate and the treatments and their side effects and their interaction, we hope just to start flattening the aging significantly. A lot of the studies for age-related disease in the past have been done on 2-3 months old animals, genetic manipulated. It was the wrong template, and no wonder that so much has failed. You have to show in aging animals, on the biology of aging, on that platform, if things are important or not. So those are part of the consideration we have. The future, okay, is very important. George started talking about it, but think about it. A sperm of a 70-year-old person and an egg of a 50-year-old woman, okay? They can meet and form a blastocyte. And although the sperm and egg have an age that you can actually monitor epigenetically, when they form this blastocyte, it's erased. They start at 0. We actually figured out how to do it in our body. We just need to make sure that this erasement of aging is something that is in our power in the future. So aging can be targeted. There are strategies. There's a TAME study that will change the regulation, and there's a lot of biotechs that are happening now.
Human age reversal. We may be there already. Human studies are now ready to begin to confirm meaningful reversal of pathological aging processes. These clinical trials aim to alter older humans so that they function as much younger individuals. Even modest success will result in a paradigm shift that will impart enormous societal benefits, such as sparing Medicare from insolvency. Life extension is not standing idle while 5,000 Americans die each day from age-related illnesses. Joining us are physician scientists who want to hurry up these technologies to keep people from aging to death. While life extension is pushing these projects forward, we need financial help to ensure these studies are carried through to fruition.